Narcissists have red flags. At this point, most of us know this, but what's not being talked about is the other side, which is us. Like one of the clear red flags that is the lack of empathy narcissists have. The thing is, we're not paying attention to the inner workings of what this really means. For instance, the narcissist also has a lack of empathy for themselves. And it's hard to spot that on a first date. It's hard to, play this mental chess game with the narcissist and predict their moves because nobody knows what anyone else is thinking. It'd be a very nice party trick if we could. So we have to observe what people do, and you have to observe what the narcissist does and how they interact with the world. You'll notice a lack of empathy for anyone, a lack of empathy in anyone in how they let other people treat them. Yes, when the narcissist treats other people without empathy, it's cruel and it's something you shouldn't tolerate. But that's coming from a place of them having a lack of empathy for themselves. Their past traumas have made them not have the ability to have empathy for themselves. And really, what the narcissist is projecting out into the world is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And when you don't have respect for yourself, empathy for yourself, anything for yourself, it's very hard and sometimes impossible, like the narcissist, to give it to others. Because the narcissist lacks all this empathy, they aren't going to be able to give it to themselves and especially not to you. Another well known red flag is that they constantly seek attention and the admiration and acceptance of other people. Again, this is, they don't accept who they are, who the narcissist is. They don't like who they are, so they have to fulfill their needs. They emotionally regulate through other people. And this is a common red flag, but one of the ways that there's a different form of this red flag is when they stop seeking your admiration. When you suspect someone to be a narcissist or just a toxic person, they will stop seeking your admiration. And why is that? Why suddenly someone stops loving you? And that happens all the time in relationships, but the narcissist does this for a specific reason. They have the mentality of an addict. They are addicted to that narcissistic supply, and when your admiration, when it stops giving them that high, because just like any other addiction, it's the high and it must come down. And if you know anything about addictions, they never feel as good as the first time. Narcissists have that very addictive tendency of novelty seeking. And when you aren't novel to them anymore, when you aren't new, they stop seeking your admiration, and now this is when they start breadcrumbing you, and they're going to go seek that admiration from someone else. That's why they suddenly stop loving you. It's not because you're a bad person. It's, again, they are reflecting their own lack of empathy and love for themselves, and it's being projected onto you. This then leads to a sense of entitlement, which will turn into guilt tripping, because in their own mind they have bad inner workings of themselves, but they also have, quote unquote, good inner workings of themselves. That's where like the grandiosity comes in, and that's when they feel entitled, because they go back and forth to feeling worthless but then feeling like they deserve everything. It's when you have a split mind like that, you're confused. The narcissist is confused of their own inner workings, and that's why they confuse you so much. They are a disordered person, and that sense of grandiosity makes them entitled. When you believe that you are like the God's gift to earth, you're going to think that, this person does, I deserve to get this from this person, and I deserve this from this person, without having any reason for it other than you just believe that you're deserving of it. And because the world doesn't work this way, the narcissist is going to have to confront reality. And that's how that leads to guilt tripping. They're going to lay it on and say, well, you used to do this for me. Like, I guess you just don't love me anymore. Or they emotionally manipulate you in any way possible to make reality conform with their grandiose thoughts of themselves. And as the relationship, worsens, well, progresses, but worsens, you're gonna see that they're gonna start using darker and darker manipulation tactics on you. They're gonna start yelling at you. They're gonna start treating you really badly because as you become more aware, as they've beaten you down and giving you this post-traumatic stress condition, you are not complying. Reality isn't complying with their grandiose self, the high expectations they had for you, because it's kind of a redeeming quality of narcissists is that they do idealize in the beginning, but it is such a grandiose, disordered form of idealization that no one can live up to it. And when you don't stop living, and when you stop living up to this fantasy, the narcissist starts attacking you. They start getting mad, and in reality, they're just mad at themselves. They're disappointed. They've gone through this cycle many times, and they are just angry in reality with themselves. They're angry that they, have idealized someone who can never, no one's ever going to live up to the perfect person because that doesn't exist. But in their mind, they believe I got into this relationship with this person. I had a fake love and all this stuff, and they still didn't give me what I want. I failed again, and they're mad at themselves, and now they're taking it out on you. It's a very common behavior in many human beings. Very low level human beings will project and put their anger on other people because it's a form of disassociation. It's the typical person that says, I failed in life because you didn't love me enough. I failed in life because you, and it's just people projecting their own insecurities onto you. And all this stuff ties in with the gaslighting. Yes, the gaslighting becomes very obvious when you are aware of what it is, but another form of this red flag is the narcissist gaslights themselves. Like I said, they switch back from hating themselves to the grandiosity. No, you have to really pay attention to narcissists more than other people, because other people aren't trying to deceive you all the time like the narcissist. But partly it's because the narcissist deceives themselves. When you see a lot of incongruencies in the narcissist personality, when one day they say, or even like sometimes they're so disordered that it's from moment to moment. They'll say, "I I really like this brand of whatever," and then a few minutes later they'll say, "I really hate this. It's a useless product." They really go jump back and forth from they gaslight themselves. That's what gaslighting really is when they do it to you. They have this one idea of you in their head, and they'll treat you one way one day, and then the next day they'll say that never happens. That's because in that moment, probably the narcissist believes that that never happened. A big part of the narcissistic disorder is disassociation. They don't have a really good grasp on reality, obviously, right? But they disassociate and have a bad memory. Try to, if you can somehow give the narcissism kind of like one of those like brain tests, memory tests, they'll probably function very poorly on it. They have a very like almost ADHD addict type of mind where they, and especially once it's something that is very emotionally invested for them, they will all sometimes obviously lie for their benefit, just like any other human being. But at times they truly gaslight themselves. And if you can find those patterns of self gaslighting in the narcissist, it's a huge red flag in any person. And it shows that they have some very unfortunate deficiencies in their cognitive abilities. And one of the most obvious ones is the history of unstable relationships. But we all know this. We all know that people have bad pasts and we still decide to date them. That's that's a red flag in yourself that you keep dating people you know aren't good for you, but you, like the narcissist, not to the same degree, you idealize them and you decide to ignore these red flags. Obviously people can change, and that's part of why we keep going back to a narcissist so many times. We we know normal people can change and we decide to give them a second chance, but the narcissist isn't a normal person. They aren't going to change, and this history of them having bad relationships is proof. And sometimes you're going to get rid of good people by, thinking this way, by just saying, okay, this person has done bad things in the past. I'm just not going to interact with them. But it kind of protects your bets in life instead of, taking chances on risky bets, risky people. It's better to find out what people's pasts are, but also look at it in yourself. Just another red flag that you can avoid that red flag in people by avoiding it in yourself. Stop getting into bad relationships. If you have a past history of getting into bad relationships, do a bit of self reflection, examine yourself, and really dive deep into your own psychology and why you do the things you do and why you keep accepting toxic relationships into your life.